And with that, welcome everyone to this first ever live stream that is not out of my home studio, but kind of ByteHive live abroad out of Barcelona today. And some of you might have already noticed, like, there's a bunch of fanners going on. What is going on? Where is Jonas? Well, let's have a look at it. I am sitting in a pile of equipment. And you know what's missing here? That is in every single traditional video pipeline. I kind of did not take a switch with me. That is one of the challenges of this live stream. I decided I want to try, we are always doing this remote production for other people. So for those of you that only know me from ByteHive, I am not only the mind behind ByteHive and PlayoutBee and all that, but I'm also have this little company with my business partner Tucker called ByteHive Global, where we do like all kinds of remote and virtual production and like stream production and stuff like this, but not for us normally. But since I was abroad for this one, I decided, you know what, maybe it would be really cool to actually do like a remote live stream and not bring a switcher with you, and I'm not cutting everything, so like if you see a cut while I have my hands open, you'll see that I'm not cutting this show. This show is completely cut remotely, and we'll talk about that later. So if you have questions about that, mention them in the chat. I already saw a bunch of you join from Sweden, the US, all types of US states. I'm not even gonna try to name all of them. I'm pretty bad at that. And yeah, California, Asheville, Canada, Munich. Yeah, so I'm not doing anything. And the reason why I'm in Barcelona is I'm here for ISE. So ISE is the Integrated Systems Expo is what I thought. I was not checking it earlier. So I just found out by reading the flyer. It's actually Integrated Systems Europe. It's a weird mixture between AV, IoT, integration, and traditional like on-site event production. Yeah, so yeah, that's quite interesting. Actually, I brought this with me today because it's the second day today, so I was still going through the halls. And you see this thing is huge, so you should be able to see that a fair bit now, maybe not all, because it's really a huge plan. You see there's like lots of tall multi-technology is the main of it. We have brands like Zoom there, we have Epifund that I'm going to talk about later there, we have a whole bunch of audio. We have this whole IoT thing that I looked at today, and I have literally no idea what half of that was, but that was pretty interesting. Yeah, so ISE has been pretty interesting, and if you have questions about that, also put them into the chat and I'm more than happy to answer them. One of the really interesting things that I saw at ISE, let's put this together again. I was walking across the ISE floor and it was really funny because suddenly I saw my face on a magazine, like a real printed magazine that you can keep in your hand, which is kind of crazy for someone like me. So Epifund produces this quarterly-ish, might be like every two times a year or 3 times a year. I haven't fully understood the release cycle yet, but yeah, so I'm on this magazine, and there is a little, if I go, let's see if I can find the page. There's a little article thing about they created archetypes and did a little interview with me, and there's a quote of me. You can download that and get your digital copy on epifund.com/mag, and I'm sure you all will be able to find that. And the other really cool thing is, some of you might have seen that Epifund built a little studio within their booth, you could say. It's a little 2-person studio that's also remotely cut with similar tech than this. we just bring our tag in, we have peplink, we have bonded to our own sims, our global sims. That was the first time that we used them outside of our country, or like outside of Germany in Europe, which was fun. So I'm gonna post a link to that little live stream that Epifan did this morning out of Barcelona. Have to do a little bit of bad audio there as well. Yeah, it's a conference floor. It was pretty loud, and it's really cool how busy it was. It's great. And the other really cool thing that I found everywhere on the floor is a Canon PT set. It was really, for me, the winner of that show. It's really interesting, and integrations, like, and I talk more about in the other live stream at Epifan about it. But I finally have the feeling that all of the vendors are coming together and building great solutions for us and for you and for everyone that does integration, live streaming, and just wants the devices to talk to each other. And no longer are like, no, we are only going to support our system, which I personally really, really like. So yeah. And the other thing why probably a lot of you joined today is PlayoutBee version 2.0 beta. Why am I saying beta? So there are a couple more things that aren't in there yet. For anyone that's new to PlayoutBee, is we had version 1 that originally was designed on the Pi, and then we upgraded it to more devices. So now it supports macOS and Windows, and it is a playout system, like the name suggests, that can, in the version 1, play out video and audio. Version 2 has a lot of cool new features, and one of the things with version 2 is it really required us redoing everything from the ground up. So what we actually should do now is I'm gonna show you PlayoutBee version 2.0. So let's see if you can see my screen. I already have a couple things open here. So you see the little countdown that we had here earlier. That I can play that countdown now. And you see there's a little output window here. That's so far so good. Some of you might also be really excited about this being dark mode and no longer light mode. I finally let someone talk to me and be like, hey, we should also add a dark mode. And then one of the other most requested features is you can now select multiple things. So I can select those 2 clips and add them. Now I can play them. And those are all the clips that you saw earlier. So what you will also notice, this is actually a picture. And that's one of the new things with PlayoutBee version 2.0. You can not only play videos and audios, but we also added picture support. So now you can play pictures, you can still play audios. And then some of you might have also noticed that here's a little pause sign. I'm going to explain what that does. So like most of you probably know, with version 1.1, we had a little action after ended. That's now became the action on a per clip basis. So you now can say pause, play next, go to next loop, or reset. Reset sets it back to the first frame and pauses it there. That way you can build like complex workflows. And the other thing that you might have already saw in here is we now have in and out points. And that was one of the things where we still had some issues in the last beta, so we fixed that now, which should get us ready into availability for this one. So yeah, you can set in and out points, which allows you to, when the client gives you something with like a slate leading or something like that, you can prevent that. But what it also allows you to do is, if there is like a middle part in a video that the client says like, actually we need to cut that person out, you can go in here, you can duplicate it. That's gonna add it here, bring that up. And now what I can do is say is I wanted it from the start till 4 minutes 20, and then I want this to be picked up at 6 minutes, so we cut out 2 minutes. I set this to play next. And if I now play that, we're not going to wait for 4 minutes now, but that would now just jump over the part that you wanted to cut out. That's a really cool tool. If you go to settings, you'll see some settings that you have been really requested, like the watch folder. That isn't fully there yet. We're still investigating some differences between macOS, Windows and Linux and Raspberry Pi systems on how they tell us that something changed, and also like if we can detect that you plugged in a new drive and check if something is on there and all that. So that will come. What I'm also gonna say now is there on the ByteHive Discord, there is a channel with beta known issues. That has a whole list of things that I know are still wrong with this beta. So if you find any issues as soon as we push this release, check in there if it's already in there, and if not, I added a new channel where you can report issues. And if you just need to explain more, you can also just in there explain all about the issue in a thread. So yeah, that's most of it what's coming to version 2.0. There's also this rotate button, and I'm going to show you on a great example why we need that rotate button. I will need to, let's see, I don't have that clip here. Well, we're gonna need to do without it. Let's see if I can upload it from my phone real quick. That's obviously also still state. I can just go to my phone and type in the IP address of my system. So if I go into the command line, I can do ipconfig and get my IP address 192.168.51.12. We are still on port 3000, and if everything goes well, probably should also join the Wi-Fi. That would help. PlayoutBee at this point isn't magically finding everything. So as soon as I joined this Wi-Fi, I should be able to see the control on that as well. And one of the really cool things is we also now have the possibility with this to upload from the phone. So I'm gonna select the clip that I want to show you from the exhibition today. So it's gonna load. And let's have a look at what I want to show you. There's a video that I did. Yep, so I'm just now uploading the thing. So what you'll also see is it's just on your phone, the same as it always has been. We also now make the top part sticky. So if you scroll through here, you can still see everything, and that you don't see the name right now is a scaling issue. Like some of you might have noticed, I'm not the best front-end designer, but I do really like building these solutions. So yeah, the front-end will come. It's just not there yet. Now if we scroll down to this one, I can make this full screen, press play on my phone. That was a clip that I took at ISE. If you walk in, you suddenly walk into this room full of lasers and audio. But the thing that I wanted to show you is if I would have an issue and accidentally filmed everything in the wrong orientation. Let me find the one that I filmed in the wrong orientation. I could also still play that, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna put it on the background, and that is the entry that is also filmed in the correct direction. Let me see if I have a video that is filmed in the wrong orientation. If not, you're just gonna have to believe me that that's how it is. Let's see. That one is not filmed that way. Yep. I will not be able to show it to you for now, but that is something that we added. And one thing that we also added is, you might have noticed in my little tray, there's now this icon where you can open the output if you closed it. You can open the control in there. But one thing that we also added is if you open the output there, you can then go to output, move it to any screens. It's gonna detect all the screens that you have. So that way, if it's a screen that you can't see because it's in an item or somewhere, you can just move it there. It's gonna put it full screen on there, and then you can also toggle the full screen. Toggle full screen is still something that we're experimenting between the different OSs, because full screen on Windows means full screen, and full screen on Mac OS means full screen and take over all your other screens. Then you can always enable always on top and prevent display sleep. That's a function that we are calling into the OS to let it know, hey, we're doing something even if it looks like we're not doing anything. So if this is on a laptop and you're controlling it over your phone, it might like go to sleep, but it shouldn't go with this, and then you can quit the app there. And that is a basic overview over PlayoutBee version 2.0 that's gonna come. One of the things that is not in there yet that we kind of are known for is the Hyperdeck emulator. We are working really hard on making that better than it was. We know there's some issues with timeouts and continued over like days and days. So yeah, let me look at your comments if you have any questions. So let's have a look. So yeah, so one of the things with version 2.0 is we build it in a way where we can remove all the things that we need for the Windows and the Mac version on the Raspberry Pi version, which should make it way more stable and should allow us to access the Raspberry Pi more. One of the interesting things that we're still looking in with the Raspberry Pi is how to better use the decoders that it has. But as soon as we have some more to say about that, I will talk about that more. But yeah, if you have any questions about PlayoutBee version 2.0, I can show you the pip. John Barker from Here to Record asks if I can show the options of the menu bar again. So yes, since it covered my pip, we'll just go to my screen, full screen, and then now I can be one of those horrible talents that tells you live on the air what to cut to. Isn't it great? So these are all the options. So you have open control, open output, and then move the output around. If there are any, we might also add like a couple resizing options to the output and the background option. Something that's not in this version, but that we tested in the web output, is that you can do $BG equals and then either a color code, or even you can even put an URL there. If you put an URL there, you can like load any background file. So if you are at a company and they have like a branded PowerPoint background, and now they send you a 9x16 file, what you can do is you put that background within PlayoutBee, you tell it to put that in the background, and then you have a file on top, and now it doesn't look as bad anymore. Yeah, so if you have any more questions about PlayoutBee, let me know. If you have any questions about how we are producing this, and every time we cut to my screen, you see the on the top left, you see Tucker there as well. And Chris W asked, any companion changes for the new features? Yes. So one of the things that we're also working on for the last about 1.5 years, 2 years is working on a protocol that allows us to tell Companion what we can do. So that way the hope is that if Companion needs an update or we need an update, we can push that without either other change also needing an update. So that is going to be one of the things that I'm excited about. We're going to open up our API even more and give you more features there. Yeah, so it should be better. Companion kind of right now is in the flux state of like there's 2.4.1.2. That is still the old 2.0 core. And then there is the version 3 that is right now in beta, but that requires a rewrite. So we will look into getting a module for that as well. Still, just yesterday I added a whole lot of options with the generic modules, and we're trying to make it compatible with the old API, so no integrations break. And we're also working on a Stream Deck plugin that's not only going to work with the normal Stream Decks, but also with the Stream Deck software and the new SD Plus hardware. The next question is from Eric Gulbrandsen. Sorry if and that's the light that is going on that I unplugged to plug my wireless transceiver in. So, like always, yeah, use a wired thing instead of the wireless thing, especially if you can touch the thing where your microphone should go into. That is a good lesson that you always should go by. The question from Eric was, are FLAC and MP3 supported in this version? So on my ATEM I can have it plugged into Cam 8 and not show Cam 8, but have the audio playing in the background. Yes. So MP3 and WAV files are supported. I'll have a look at FLAC. I'm not sure if we support it right now or if we can support it. One interesting change that we had is QuickTime files. QuickTime files that have an H.264 or H.265 codec within it will also work. ProRes obviously still not. That is an area where this won't work. But with the release, we're also going to do a little tutorial on how to take ProRes 4444. Hope that's enough force to also get an alpha channel for free. Into a WebN file with transparency, so you can even use Playout B with keyfill with something like Casper CG, vMix or OBS with Decklink or any other output card that they support. And then from Uwe Ranfeld, is version 2.0 2x free for users of the beta version? Yes. So that's the good news for everyone. I know that there has been a bit of a slow time with updates. So what I decided to do is, you all are getting version 2.0. Everyone that bought it is getting version 2.0 for till like 2.1. So like 2.0 and all the updates for that, we're gonna treat 2.0 as a version that we're gonna support more. That's also like one of the things, as a developer, you always think, yeah, I'm gonna rewrite the code and all my customers are gonna care and everyone is gonna be like, you did a great job, you rewrote all the code. What it really is about that you're more happy while you program it and you're faster to deploy. It took us, with the old code base, it took us a week of testing and deployment just to get it somewhere where we can use it. So yeah, that was a little bit annoying, and like really we couldn't push out hot fixes and stuff like that, which this will allow us. And one of the things that is coming for the Raspberry Pi, maybe not with this beta, it will come with a later beta, is like treating it more as a device, so like handling updates and all that better. One common question with this as well is, will I need to reflash my Pi? Yes, you will. It's about 1 year now that the OS hasn't been updated. We will provide the app image file, so you could only install it like on a custom Raspberry Pi install. You don't have to use our image, but the image is now more than ever coming with way more things that helps make the Pi way cooler than without the Pi. And John is asking, is there a quad split on the TV behind you and what is feeding it? And yeah, I just looked. That is actually a quad split, and what's feeding it is this thing right here. Probably can see it in my overhead view. It's a little encoder box. There's a couple cables coming in. There's one SDI, one HDMI coming in, and then one HDMI is going out. And I'm just gonna try to see if I have the diagram of that I can show you. And the Pearl is actually producing that. So if you look at my screen right now, you should be seeing that I have a switch that supports PoE, and then that probably also answers a couple other questions. I have two BGH1s, one coming as SDI into my setup and one coming in as HDMI. And I saw a suggestion earlier that I should just use my phone and take a horizontal vertical video let's see, my phone decides sometimes to not take videos, and this is one point, of course. You know it all, doing a tech demo, nothing will work. So what you see here is we have a Max Transit Pro, or Max Transit Duo. It might be a Duo or Pro, I don't recall off my head right now. We have two Keylight Minis that are on the Wi-Fi of the Max Transit Pro. So Tucker, who is not only my business partner for BCMP Global and our head of production, he is also the person that has been making sure that I can talk here for this long time and not press any buttons and all that and cutting the stream. And then we also have the laptop, and then we have the Pearl Nano. And that's all the equipment that is used here. I do have like a little, like mentioned, a Rode Go for my lav, but that's everything. So the really cool thing that we are leveraging, and yes, John just mentioned this portion of ByteHive Live is brought to you by H2R Gear. I just used that to sketch it out, and it was really helpful, so I know how much I need to pack, because all of this packs down really compact into a carry-on, which basically, like, this kit allows you to stream from anywhere in the world. One really cool thing about the, and Tucker just mentioned, it's a Max Transit Duo Pro, so just put both my responses, put it together, and you get the right thing. The really cool thing with that is it supports our own SIMs. So we have something that we call a global SIM, because it will work all over the world. We use them in the US, in Canada, Germany, and I can also say we tested in Spain. And that just allows me to log into whatever networks are here. So I don't even know what networks we're in. I think it's two of the main carriers that we're in. And then this one bonds to our own bonding hardware. So bonding is when you take multiple connections and put them together into one connection. So that way it looks for all my devices like one connection, but really it's multiple. That way I'm able to stream the stream. So yeah, and the question with if that is a multi-view, no, that's actually the program feed that is being fed into our global studio. So the really cool thing, and a bunch of you are starting to catch on with this, is there are 3 camera feeds and 1 desktop feed being fed into the cloud in sync. And I'm doing it this way. I have a BGH1 going over HDMI into our Pearl. In the Pearl, we're then cropping this wide shot. So you see there's this wide shot here. And then actually, if let's have a look at the 4-up. So you see all the sources that are coming in. There is this wide shot, and then this wide shot is a 4K feed coming into the Pearl. But then I'm cropping in the Pearl, I'm cropping that into a 1080p feed. So like the top left shot that you're seeing is also like full quality. It should look really nice. And then on the left, lower left, you also see my overhead shot that I use to like show you all the cool things on my desk, like these logos and the headset that the wireless that isn't working. So all of that is coming in that way. And then we're using OBS on my laptop because the Pearl only has 2 inputs. But we're streaming obviously 3 feeds, and like the one feed we're even streaming a cutout, which is really useful because this way Tucker has 3 camera sources he can cut, and all of them are full 1080p. And then we also have the desktop source, and the desktop source is actually just a little cheat. We're using OBS in here, and we're streaming that over our local network into the Pearl, and the Pearl is then streaming it up to our cloud where Tucker is cutting it. He is trying to fix all the noise that I have in here because I decided I want to be surrounded in tech and not like put it somewhere in a closet so it doesn't bother me. And doing a video, so the video that you saw earlier was played out there and all that. Yeah, so that is how this is doing. We have 3 camera feeds. We also have systems like this that allow you to feed 4 camera feeds. I didn't bring one because 2 cameras are already quite a bunch. Yeah, so let's see if there are any more questions. And yes, Chris is asking, Jonas, how many encoders are you using to get the 3 cameras and your screen to Tucker? Also, what cameras? That's a crazy and really cool thing, and Tucker and I figured and worked on this technology for like a year and like figured out how to do all this. It's one encoder. And this whole setup is probably using as much bandwidth as if any of you is streaming live with an ATEM Mini Pro. And that's the thing that really set in for me, is this whole setup can stream up to 4 1080p feeds up to our cloud and allow us to cut it there with the same bandwidth requirements than an ATEM Mini streaming on Streaming Medium, I think is what it's called. Yeah. Geekasine asks, does this work on central control? That is something that I'm looking into, if central control has a generic HTTP module that this is working with. If they have it, yes, this will work. If not, I'll talk to them and make it work somehow. And Chris Fenwick asks, is Tucker there with you in Barcelona? No, he is on the other side of the world, and this is also like we kind of made it really hard for ourselves today, because this is not like cut locally here. I didn't bring in an ATEM and Tucker is remoting into that. No, all video signals are shipped across the globe to Ohio, into our data center, and then Tucker is remotely logging into what we call our global studio, where he can cut between all of the feeds and add stuff and do all the cool things that you've seen in this live stream from home. So he doesn't have to fly out to Barcelona with me to produce this live stream. He can stay at home while I have all the fun on this expo and then do this live stream. So yeah, I hope that answers all those questions. If you have more questions about that, and this live stream happens to be over, so if you're watching the rerun of this live stream or the VOD later, you can also always reach out to us if you have any questions about this workflow, and we're happy to help you stream 4 cameras with the same bandwidth requirements that you have for your ATEM. It's like, that's a bit of a simplification. We technically use 25% more Mbits because we use SRT, which has a bandwidth, a protocol overhead, so it's using about 25% more data. The data is being used if a packet gets lost during the long trip from here to Ohio, that if it gets lost there, we can send it again, and obviously that takes more bandwidth, so we have about 25% more bandwidth requirements. But I don't know if you can see it, but in this, there's only one cable going into this router here. And the reason for that is that we are not actually plugged into any, let's call it venue LAN. We don't have any connection from this hotel. I got a public Wi-Fi, and I'm logged into the Wi-Fi, and then we have our 2 SIMs, and it's totally enough for doing this live stream. I'm even, like you see, I'm even on a Zoom call, so we were talking about that. And yeah, that is all of the things that you can see here. If you have any more questions, let me know. If you have any more questions about Playout B, also let me know, and I'm happy to answer them. But other than that, like I said, I know has been a month or 2 till I said about a month. So let's just 2x what I say, and then we probably get a good estimation for when Playout B actually is gonna come out. And that just, yeah, over Christmas developing is not the easiest way ever. So but you should be able to expect a build on next week that might not include a Raspberry Pi, which I know most people are waiting for, because the Raspberry Pi really needs some fine-tuning, and we're working on that to get it really nice and like as a device, so it's more user-friendly. Yeah, so John is asking if we can do this for IBC. I'm sure we can do this for IBC and figure this all out and do a live stream from IBC maybe this year, not directly from the show floor, to not have that added stress. That's the nice thing. I'm here in my apartment in the middle of Barcelona, in a part of town where no one understands me if I try to speak English. I hope it's not my English, but that they don't speak English. So I'm trying to talk with hands and foot about trying to order food and all that. But yeah, we should be able to do it in Amsterdam, and if you want, yeah, let's get together at IBC and do a little debrief like this from IBC. So yeah, John is asking about the Canon camera that I saw at ISE. So it's the Canon CRN 300, 500 and 700. But the really impressive thing is the adoption that I'm seeing with it. A lot of people are used to the Panasonics. Like on the high end, we have the UE150s that are used in like a lot of rental houses and all that. And a lot of the higher end like control software, something like, now obviously I can't come up with any of the names. They've been using that for a while, but now what I see is every single stand has a Canon with it. The Apple phone stand has a Canon with it. Everyone has an integration with Canon, and I think it really speaks, like I said on the, if you want to hear me talk more about like all the collaboration coming together, which I think is just beautiful, that this industry, through COVID or through whatever, finally kind of realized we need to work together on building great products for our clients, and no longer like work against each other and say, hey, if you don't use my microphone, you don't get to use all these things, or if you don't use my PT set, you don't get to do all these things. I think Canon and Canon just built a really too easy thing to develop against it. Yeah, like develop against the Canon, because it's an HTTP command, it's not Visca over IP, it's open, everyone can develop against it. So I think that really helped with adoption. I do think like it's one of the greatest pictures between the Canon and like this little Insta360 link here. Those are like two PT sets that I really like. Yeah, they also just released auto for the CRN 500. They released auto tracking, and what's really interesting is it's only set up on the PC but not actually run on the PC. So like all the machine learning and AI of that is on camera. For other cameras like the data video, they have a separate box that you need to add, but Canon somehow managed to put it all in the CRN 500, no, the 700s. I hope it's coming to the 500s, and we will see what's coming to the 300s, because I have a 300, so we could test it as soon as I get it. Morton says that we could have pushed the 4K multi-view to our central studio and then cut out the individual 1080p feeds. Yeah, that's basically what is happening. It sounds easier than it is. It took us a while to get like all the intricacies of that working. One of the cool things with our method is we can also only stream 2 cameras and not need to send a full 4K picture. Chris and John are talking about how much we're gonna charge for doing an IBC live stream. That is great. I'm sure John and I will just love to do it for free and talk about tech with you all. Spike is saying, great to see the remote setup working in all its glories. Yeah, it's pretty cool to, it's a little terrifying, like stepping outside of the door and being like, you know what, I don't have a 18 with me, I don't have like 20 different ways to cut a show with me. I just need to trust the process that we've been building has been really great. And I think this is really neat setup, because this could also just be like, yes, this is remote now, but you would also could do with this is like, hey, you're a company and you have 4 offices and you need help producing that. You could do a one-time investment of all the gear and integrate it into 4 corporate offices, and then ship it to us and we cut it for you. But then you have like one cost of personnel and not 4, because you don't need to have someone in Seattle, New York, Washington, and choose a 4th city where you would like one of your headquarters to be. So that's also like a really cool use case of this, because this doesn't even probably takes like 2 or 3 rack heights. And John says we'll even add some fancy graphics to our IBC stream. Yeah, we'll add some fancy graphics and some fancy playout, and I think all of that needs to be added to our IBC stream. We'll get some singers for Chris between the different scenes. That's also something that is going to be real cool with the upcoming PlayoutBee feature, or already is cool, but it's going to get cooler. stingers with the ATEM, because you're gonna be able to trigger them through the macros and all that. I'm really excited for that. One other really cool thing that I've seen on, that I was talking to, I can't remember his name, the creator of Skalhoy. I was talking to the creator of Skalhoy about their Skalhoy products, and one really cool thing, I don't have mine with me, they have a new device called the Blue Pill, and they now added a really cool new mode to that, where all the devices like an ATEM and all that, they expose a TCP API for us developers, because I know that John and I have been talking about that a lot. It's really hard for us to integrate with the ATEM sometimes, just because they have their own SDK that's proprietary that we can't really talk to on, like, and yes, John is saying it, Casper is his name, and it was really great talking to him there. And like, I just looked at it and was like, that's amazing. Like, the Blue Pill costs, I think, $500 around that. And now it also works. They had a product called the ATEM TCP link. It now works the same way for that, but also with different devices. So now all these complicated protocols, you don't need to speak anymore. You can just speak the protocol of the Blue Pill, and then the other really cool thing I saw there is the Blue Pill with a Stream Deck using the raw panel protocol. That is also really cool, and I'm really excited for that, to see Skalhoy and the Stream Deck coming together, and like, and that's like with everything that I've been saying, that's really like everything coming together on this expo. I think it might have been also to do something because it's integrated systems. Like, it's a really great name for the show, and like the sentiment on the show, and like everyone I've been talking to is raving about, like, hey, this really cool integration, and we integrate with them, and like trying to uplift their partners. I've seen it different in our industry, and I'm so glad that it's finally changing, and we're building like really cool stuff together. I didn't even look at like all the Crestron and Kuse's integrations. That's where I'm gonna be looking tomorrow. I met a lot of cool folks here as well. Yeah. And even Felipe is logging in a little late, but better late than never. Go Web Technologies is asking where to get PlayoutBee version 2.0. You will get it in your email, and I'm gonna maybe ping everyone on Discord again. I'm not sure. Might need to start setting up some Discord channels where you can subscribe to, so I not always ping everyone. But yeah, you will get an email with the download. If you have bought PlayoutBee in the past, if you haven't, now is a great time to buy it, and you will get that update for free as well. Included as a course point, a course rule that you can go after for how long you're gonna get updates. The promise I can make to you is you're gonna get at least updates for 1 year, and the software will not like send something to remotely deactivate your software. The software in the state that you have it while you pay for it will be the state that the software stays in. So even if you don't get updates anymore, you need to pay for an update, you still have the old version, and we won't break that. And John is asking when we can expect the next stream. I think the last time I did a ByteHive live, I said in about like a month or 2 weeks. That's 1.5 years ago, so probably just, we'll see. I'm hoping to do a big release party every time I release a beta, but we'll see if that all plays out. It might be like a little short live stream. But yeah, if there are not any more questions, actually, if you have something at ISE or you're at ISE and want to meet, you can shoot me a message on Discord. I'll be at ISE tomorrow and would love to meet some people. And also, if you have something at ISE you think I really should check out, send me that as well on Discord and I'll check it out. And on the Discord, you'll see me post all kinds of impressions and maybe do a little after video. There was one question earlier about where to find a Raspberry Pi. And there's a really cool website that I'm just gonna pull up, because that really is a pain point and something that we're working on, because we know it's like painful to get a Pi right now. There's a website called Pi Locator. And what you see is, there aren't that many, but what you can do is here you can filter out which countries and which sellers and all that. And they are coming in, like there's a lot of Pis actually produced and sold. There's just a demand that is so much higher. So please do not buy them on any scalpers on Amazon. You shouldn't pay more than $100 for your Pi, just your Pi. You can get a NUC. That's something that we'll also work on, supporting better NUCs that are powered similar to the Pi, that you can get a similar price point as long as the Pi shortage holds on. I will say hold tight. All of the channels that we have are saying that it should be getting better within a year-ish. So we'll see about that. But Pi Locator is a great resource that you can use to find shops that have it. Yeah. So Wagner, you're asking if there's any discounts for the current PlayoutBee users, and Tucker's already saying yes. If you ever within the, I guess it's 2 years now, which is kind of crazy. Everyone that bought within the last 2 years, or if it's more than 2 years, within since PlayoutBee was created, if you ever paid any money for PlayoutBee, you will getting version 2.0 for free. And Chris is asking a great question, if there are any plans for an Android or iOS version. I would be curious to know the use case for that. One thing that we haven't announced yet, but since it's the end of the stream, you all have been here, I'm gonna give a little sneak peek for one of the other reasons why we have been retooling everything, is there will be a version of PlayoutBee that does not require a UI. It won't need a UI process on the server to be able to be run. And you already heard me say the server. You saw there's a cloud production channel in our Discord. You hear me talk about the cloud all the time. What I will say is there will be options for you to just get a URL and not have it run locally. We're still looking into like network, because like at that point you're streaming the video over the network and all that. How can we give a good estimation on that? But that's something that we're looking into. And Kikasin is asking about the Jetson Nano. I have one, I still haven't unpacked it. I really want to use it. There's also, if anyone has one, they're also really hard to get. And the user base for them are pretty small right now, but we're looking into if it's feasible to support them. As we build up our build pipeline, we might be able to support more models. But what's probably coming before the Jetson Nano is supporting General Linux, x86, x64 instead of ARM, the Raspberry Pi version, for the serverless and for the server builds, and for everything that, like one of my dreams is building a box that has a DEC link in it, runs CasperCG, where you can put HDR graphics or any HTML5 based graphic system and PlayoutBee on, have like 4 output channels, each gets key fill. And all of that without a GUI, or like with the least processes needed, just so it's really performant. And that's one of the goals that I'm trying to work on this year. As soon as we have the current, if the current wave of updates to PlayoutBee is done, we're gonna look at InfoBee again. And then there is gonna be more interesting tools to remotely control stuff. That's all I'm gonna say about future roadmaps for now. I hope you enjoyed today's live stream, and if there are any more questions, I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes to ask more questions, and then I'm gonna end this live stream, eat something, and it's already got dark in Barcelona. One really weird thing is Barcelona is at the same time zone than Germany, but if you look at a map, it's like really not. They just decided to put it on the same time zone. So that definitely is a weird thing where, like, for a German, most things start at 10 instead of 8 because the sun just rose and all that, which is really interesting. But yeah, Chris is responding that the Nano and others like it run Android more than RPOS. And yes, that is true. Android just makes it more difficult for us to develop, because right now we have a unified code base that allows us to, I'll say, rapidly deploy new features, which is the goal behind PlayoutBee version 2.0, apart from being more secure and all that. But yeah, it probably would be using a Linux version instead of Android for now. And Wagner is saying, just for the record, PlayoutBee is an amazing product. I do live weddings and music shows and use 2 Pis, one for video audio playback and the other for the characters in CGI. Just go for it. Thank you. That is a great comment. I'm really glad it's working for you. I love to hear stories where you are using it. So if anyone wants to share any more about where they're using it, let me know. And yeah, if you haven't had enough of me talking, there's another, let me check, how many minutes did I talk? There's another like 8 minutes 50, including 5 minutes of silence at the start. With that fun, I'm gonna put that video in again. So yeah, and then I hope to see you on the next live stream. If there's anything coming up, feel free to reach out to me at jonas@bytehive.de. Or if you have need any help with these type of production things, you are seeing on my shirt the logo, and you see it in the description. We'll put the website. BSCMP is the company that Tucker and I are using to support production houses and companies to build streaming kits like this, do remote production, do virtual production, and just get more out of your event. Yeah, so with that, we'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this live stream, and hopefully you hear soon from me about PlayoutBee version 2.0 beta 1. There's gonna be more betas with more features, but bye for now.